sent you a video of me playing some of my warm-up. I'm on just like the second set of Chickawitz's flow studies. Overall, things feel better today, but they still don't feel good. However, I sound better than I thought I did, because I listened to the video before I sent it just to kind of get an idea. Also, the video makes it sound like I'm playing really loud, but I'm not. But yeah, it doesn't feel good. I have a small bit of double buzz going on, and it just feels real puffy and stuff. But yeah, let me know what you think, or if you need me to send anything else, I'm happy to send little clips of my routine here and there today, or whatever you need or want.
I'll listen to your video in just a second, but send me as much of your routine as you can. Maybe at least 10 different videos, maybe multiple repetitions of a few things, getting some variety of other things. To get a sense of the whole will be helpful for me, if you don't mind. Playing in your video sounds good to me. As I watch you play, it looks like there could be maybe a little bit more immediacy in your articulation. The way I would fix that, or I would address that, is to really just try to think as metronomically as I can when I'm coming in. So, maybe thinking 3, breathe, play, so that downbeat, whenever you start playing, has a specific place to start. And then just aim to think as far away as you can. Hear your sound as far away from you as you possibly can. In that room that you're in, look at the wall across the way and pretend that you can hear your articulation for the first time over there across the way.
I just sent you another video of me going up to the 5th. Thinking far away, that helps a lot. Just seeing the video, there's a few times I kind of wasn't thinking it and I kind of started over. But that seems to help out a lot. I've never really thought of that concept before, but I like it.
yeah, that was definitely better. I'm still hearing issues with the immediacy, so if you don't want to focus on sort of giving yourself some timing with like thinking prep beats, that doesn't really matter to me. Try just thinking, don't be so, what's the right word? Seems like you're trying to be careful with your articulation. Like you're wanting not to miss. Don't do that. Just take a breath and play. Take a breath and tongue. Listen to some Walker Hardenberger if you need some inspiration. But listen to it within the context of how he just takes a breath and then goes. There's no hiccup. There's no, you get the sense he's just playing and then he knows exactly what note's going to be there and then he just tongues and it comes out, right? So from there, every video you send me after this, make sure you're focused on those two things. Just take a breath and play with confidence that you know what note will be there, and think far away, and we'll see how that manifests throughout the practice session. For your own edification as well. Yeah. The reason I asked you to think far away is because I heard a little bit of, just felt a little tight in your sound. Even though it's a good sound, even though it's a resonant sound, it felt just slightly tight. And that if you listen to the two recordings you sent me back to back, the second recording is definitely less tight. There's more freedom in your sound. So that's how you diagnose something like that on your own. Also, don't be afraid to mentally rehearse some of these things before you play them too, in order to get the right feel and make sure you're connecting your mental model to thinking far away and stuff.
Sounds good. I just sent you another video. I just started my routine. I sent you like the first half of just my the high range stuff we've been doing. I will definitely do some more mental rehearsal too. I did not do that with these, but I'm ready to go into multiple tonguing, I believe, so I will do that, and I will send you some more videos.
That upper register exercise feel, the stuff that you sent me? And also the other day when you said things were not working, compared to what you're sending me now, what was the difference? Was it just like literally nothing was working, or was it like you could play similarly, it just felt horrible? can you try to describe the difference between the other day when you had to just put it away and then today?
Yeah, so the exercise I just did actually felt pretty good. I didn't really feel like I was straining or there was a lot of tension or anything. I know I kind of I did drop the B on the first attempt, but I think it was just because I didn't have a great breath and I wasn't really supporting the note very well. I was kind of giving up towards the end, which I fixed on the second round, which still felt good. Compared to the other day, it was just everything wasn't really working. Like, I was having trouble just having a good sound. It was real airy and thin. You know, if I was trying to move valves, the notes would just stop responding. It would just turn into air. I was getting really tired real quick too. I mean, just playing like a simple exercise, and my entire lips and corners were just burning, and it was hard just to even keep an embouchure together at that point. So comparatively, it's going much better than the other day. And the more I'm playing right now, it seems that the better things seem to be feeling too a little bit, because I know when I first started, I was saying it still didn't feel too great. But right now, it's actually feeling pretty good. Yeah, I hope that answers everything.
With every exercise you send me from this point on, can you also tell me how it feels to you, so I can get a sense of how it's feeling, so I can gauge that along with how it's sounding?
So this was the first run through of my multiple tonguing, first time ever reading through that one. That didn't feel as good as what I was doing before, particularly when I got into the high range, which you will hear. I felt like I was kind of straining again, so I have some sort of disconnect from what I just did to now. I'm assuming that I don't have the flow that I did, or things just weren't really as forward. I still have 2 more repetitions of this before I move on to.
It sounds fine. Just try a little bit more to keep the corners firm and keep the air forward when you get into the upper register. But your multiple tonguing sounds fine. Sounds really good. So I guess in this instance, although it's not what you want it to be, we don't necessarily need to completely overcorrect. Like, just because those notes in the upper register didn't feel great, the vast majority of the exercise was, right? So we need to learn how to bring what you're doing well into where it's more difficult. I wouldn't say there's any disconnect happening. I just think keep the air forward and support when you get up there. I just did my other 2 run-throughs. I did not record them, but I kind of wish I did now. They went a lot better than the first one. Yeah, I didn't really have any response issues in the upper register that time. I definitely did the mental focus that we were talking about, and that really helped out a lot with it. Kind of like what we were doing to Charlier, I was just doing it in a few spots I knew I was probably needing a little more focus, and that helped clear things up a lot. This is an example of a time in your practice session where sometimes it's okay to assume that you know what's correct, and you just need to imprint it and just keep trying to imprint what's correct. That makes sense? So if something's going wrong, sometimes we'll just assume, well, I'm doing something wrong. But sometimes you're doing something right and your chops just haven't quite figured out what that means. So this seems like that kind of time where you don't have to rethink your triple tonguing because one repetition went poorly. You can say, I know what to do. I just need to figure out how to line up what I know what to do with those spots. And that mental rehearsal is exactly the time. It's exactly the time to use that.
All right, I just sent you one more video of the multiple tonguing. I got one run through this one. I'm thinking maybe this is still a little too quick. Maybe I need to readjust my tempo downwards a little bit. I think I may have shot just a little bit too high for this one. But I definitely did the mental rehearsal before I did this, since I only got one shot at it. And beginning was a little rough, but I kind of found my groove about halfway in, and that seemed to work pretty well, actually.
I would not change the tempo, because I think you are very capable of playing that speed. Just like chalk it up to it is what it is for this particular instance, because you'll have 2 slower days this week. But make some notes about what you want to focus on in that journal on those repetitions. There's a little bit of like a hiccup, as you can hear, and you did fall into the groove, so you obviously could do it. But I'd make some notes about what you want to focus on in your mental rehearsal and your performance repetitions later on in the week, and then come back 1 week from now and see if you can keep up with it better.
I just sent you a little bit of some violin that I just started on. I always like coming to these exercises because they're like my general reminder that I need to keep things forward. I mean, you'll hear it in the videos too. It's always just kind of funny to me, because it's like I keep it in mind and then I play it, and then I'll go through like 1 or 2, and then it finally kind of clicks in about keeping things forward. Yeah, I need to figure out how to do it on the first try, but it's going to happen.
Flexibility exercise is good. Don't play down when you go down, play out. When you go up, it's great. When you come down, you're playing up and down. So I would bet a lot of money in your regular playing, downward slurs are harder for you than upward slurs. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong, but based on what I just saw, it's super subtle. But I can tell that if you watch your video, there's almost zero movement when you go up, but when you come back down, you can tell you're pivoting slightly to find the center of those notes rather than keeping it forward and letting your air and the focus of your chops find those notes.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Downward slurs always have been more difficult for me than upwards, but I like the idea of outwards, which ties into the theme of when we first started today. I'm about ready to start doing the quote-unquote fast ones, not the slow ones. I will keep that in mind and let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I would just try to focus on letting your chops find the notes. Like, don't find the notes, but let the focus and the aperture find the notes. It's a very weird way to think about it, but it might result in the right kind of approach.
Hey, dude. I just want to touch base with you about how the rest of everything went with the Charlier. Just kind of like the other day, it was just kind of like all of a sudden things weren't working, like no response and that kind of stuff. I got about halfway through the Charlier program and just decided to call it because it just wasn't working. I was becoming frustrated. I've kind of been able to figure out the feeling and the problem I'm going through. It's like I have no control over my aperture, which, I'm not really thinking about it, but it's like I've kind of figured out that when it's not working, it's because my aperture is just being blown apart, and it's like I can't, for some reason, bring it back together. I don't know. I hope that kind of makes sense a little bit.
Okay, that's a pretty interesting assessment. It sounds like it's pretty spot on based on everything you've described. So the things that can cause us to have blown out chops like that, oftentimes like playing really loudly and then playing soft after that, can be a struggle. Again, the fix for that is going to be making sure things are forward and that we're using a high intensity of air and not so much thinking lots of air. And the other thing is, I don't know how much you're doing in your routine. Maybe it's going to be possible for you to do less. Or I'm curious what it would look like for you to just not take a break. I know, like, breaks are, everyone's like, yeah, take lots of breaks, practice 30 minutes and come back later. Your lips might be swelling, from a heavy amount of playing. So there's maybe two options from there. If you're going to take a break, try to take a break more often, like sooner, so your lips maybe don't take as much of, not a beating, but your lips aren't beat up as much. Or just see if you can power through and finish the Charlier in the same session, because you were saying at the end of the previous session things were feeling good. So I would wonder what it would be like for you to keep going when it feels like that. Just curious for your thoughts on all of that, so we can kind of figure out how we might adjust what you're doing to meet this, to find out if it really is the aperture having trouble focusing.